You are listening to the Business Leadership Podcast with Edwin Frondozo.
To create unique manufacturing asset, you need a system integrator that's going to take great tech from the components provider, the Siemens or Rockwells and so on of the world, design a system, commission it, and eventually it's going to work. We serve anywhere from a manufacturing professional that has maybe grow up on the shop floor, knows the manufacturing process, but might not be an engineer, up to a roboticist that's got trained in PhD in robotics. So you want to be able to train those robots in the virtual world. So you can really de-risk, create scenarios, train the robot on those scenarios in the virtual world before you deploy.
Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, Biz Leader. Welcome to another episode of the Business Leadership Podcast. I'm Edwin Frondozo, and today we are featuring a special episode from our Future Narrator mini-series recorded live at the Collision Conference in Toronto, Canada. In this mini-series, we explore the future of leadership, innovation, and storytelling with visionary leaders who are not just designing products, but are creating entire new worlds and markets. Joining me is Dr. Paul Newton, and together we'll be speaking with Etienne Lacroix, the founder and CEO of Vention, a manufacturing automation platform that democratizes access to industrial automation. Under his leadership, Vention has grown to serve 4,000 manufacturers across 25 industries and 30 plus countries. Recently, Vention was named one of Canada's top growing companies of 2023 by the Globe and Mail, ranking them number 64 out of 425 companies. In our conversation, Etienne will discuss how Vention is revolutionizing the field of industrial automation by making it accessible to small and medium-sized manufacturers. We'll explore how Vention's platform allows users to design, program, deploy, and operate their own manufacturing systems without the need for expensive system integrators. Etienne will delve into the company's focus on usability, the impact of collaborative robots, and future innovations like digital twins for virtualizing machine components. So without further ado, here we go. We're now speaking with Etienne Lacroix, the founder and CEO of Vention. How are you doing today?
Very well. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for coming in. Really excited to get into this. I guess, Etienne, I just want to jump right in. Can you share what problem is Vention solving in the field of industrial automation?
Yeah, we're making industrial automation accessible to all manufacturers. If you go on a manufacturing floor today, you'll realize that most manufacturing assets are unique because the finished good manufacturer is unique. So unique finished good, unique manufacturing assets. To create those unique manufacturing assets today, you need a system integrator that's going to take great tech from the components provider, the Siemens or Rockwells and so on of the world, design a system, commission it, and eventually it's going to work. That had a lot of cost. That expertise needs to be paid for. And that makes the price of industrial automation robotic as such that small, medium manufacturers just can't pay for it. So what we're doing is we're making it self-serve. So users can go online, design those systems by themselves, program them by themselves, deploy them by themselves, and operate them by themselves. So we're mostly focusing on small, medium businesses, helping them adopt industrial automation at scale.
And I guess thinking outside and not being within the industry, and I understand like the big upfront costs of these customized machinery, getting the programming in it. What does it look like for those smaller businesses that it is a self-serve? Like how much do they need to know? Do they just need to know what the output is and what the input is? And then your platform will figure the middle part out?
So that's a good question. We serve anywhere from a manufacturing professional that has maybe grow up on the shop floor, knows the manufacturing process, but might not be an engineer, up to a roboticist that's got trained in PhD in robotics. So we serve that spectrum. But the denominator here is that the user experience from the ideation of a machine to its deployment and operation needs to be a zero learning experience for somebody who already has manufacturing process knowledge. So that's what we're trying to serve. Can I serve everybody that does not have that knowledge? Perhaps not. But most manufacturing professionals know their process. They know what's worked well. And with that intelligence, they can come in the platform and get to a functional system.
Amazing. So definitely it's someone who understands the process, the manufacturing flow. Otherwise, they're probably not your customer.
Correct.
Etienne, I'm wondering if you could address, or maybe not address, but how are the robotics revolutionizing the manufacturing world now?
I think the trend of faster robotics adoption started around 2012 when Cobot, collaborative robot, got introduced with the Rethink Robotics of the world and more recently Universal Robots of the world. That really set the journey. If you look at the trend of robotics adoption, the number of units shipped in the United States has doubled since that time.
Wow.
Interesting, the last 2 years are down quite for interest rate reason, but overall we're in a very upward trajectory. The concept of thinking about your robot cells and doing it by yourself was inexistent until roughly 2016. Today, I think in that space, Vention is the fastest growing channel to deploy robotics. Market share that we have in that industry has more than tripled since the beginning. It shows, and most of our clients, 60% are small, medium businesses. Again, that most of them did not have a first robot on their floor and just got started with this. There's something there that is changing. Industrial automation is getting more productized, getting more platformed, and as a result, it's easier to make non-experts adopt.
And this is me thinking about the cloud world, the SaaS world from 20 years ago, where a lot of the business operations went in. It seems like the adoption within your industry is finally coming through now, and it's really getting more accessible. And this is where the opportunity, and maybe maybe you could talk about the small, medium business owners or industries where they're finally like super excited that this enables them.
Yeah, there's the main tailwind in the industry right now is simply labor shortage. There's a chronic labor shortage that is structural in North America until 2030, right? So that's the kind of phenomenal tailwind in the industry. But there's an unlock that has not yet unlocked itself. And I'm going to bring us to the future. That's your thing.
For sure.
Today, the only way to know if a robot cells or a machine is going to work is to design it, to buy the component, to assemble it, and to test it. Sometimes it doesn't. I would say 30% of the time it doesn't. You need a bit more time, you need a bit more investment, and eventually it's going to work, but maybe not at the intended performance level. CapEx is in the way, right? How do we get CapEx out of the way? And that's the unlock. And this unlock is not far away. I would say 2 to 3 years in my opinion.
Okay.
If you're able to virtualize the act of troubleshooting those machines on the actual physical twin and you bring that to a digital twin, then you can basically test before you invest. We're missing just a couple of building blocks in the industry to get there. And means that the digital twin that you create online in those virtual environment, you need to be able to simulate varying inputs. Box are not arriving always at the same time, so the machine needs to adapt to all those varying conditions. Usually what the process that needs to be debugged on the real machine, you want to be able to debug that in the virtual world. So you need physics-based simulation that is reliable enough. That's number one. The number two is right now when you're training a robot with AI, most of the training is taking place on the physical world. After CapEx, you want to be able to train those robots in the virtual world. So you can really de-risk, create scenarios, train the robot on those scenarios in the virtual world before you deploy. We test before you invest, get CapEx out of the way. And to go back to your analogy of cloud, go back in 2006, anybody that wanted to start a software business had to shell 20 grand worth of server.
Yeah.
Nobody's doing that today. In fact, you get $100,000 worth of credit from AWS if you're funded by a real VC, right?
Yeah.
CapEx is out of the way.
Yeah.
How do we get CapEx out of the way for industrial automation? And to me, we need to finalize the step to virtualize machine design. And we're not far away, but it's not going to happen in 2024. We're probably three years away. And that's the unlock. Get CapEx out.
From what I'm hearing, to get the CapEx out of the way is really leveraging these virtual worlds, these 3D goggles, programming the real world in this virtual world.
Twin needs to be a near or almost accurate version of the physical twin. And the tech is not there yet. Everybody's working on it, trying to improve little pieces, but that's the unlock, right?
Have you seen it working though? Have you seen like parts of it already?
It's a journey.
Yeah, okay.
In industrial automation, there's two risks that you're solving when you assemble the machine today. Technology risk is all the components that I bought today work with one another.
Yeah.
The one from Siemens, the Rockwell, the Universal, they all need to work.
Yeah.
And they all need to work as a system. And that's the tricky part. This is pretty much resolved. When you platform like Vention, you work with Lego parts, right? Then you're in an industrial Lego environment. All the parts available are compatible. So that risk is gone. What's remaining is the process risk. That intricate process knowledge, that varying input that you need to deal around for the machine to work all the time.
Yeah.
And this is where near accurate digital twin will help. And that's where you need physics-based simulation. That's where you need to be able to train robot in those virtual environments so you can accommodate those variation. And when you deploy, it's going to work. right? CapEx is out of the way.
That's wild. That's amazing. I'm excited for that.
So
If
I
it-
would say 3 years.
3 years.
3 years.
Okay. Aside from these digital twins, this automation, are you seeing any other disruptions in the horizon that is within the industry that's really going to change it as well?
Everybody's trying to move, I'll say everybody, but I think people pushing the frontiers are trying to get to a state where we have autonomous machine or autonomous robotic.
Yes.
Nobody's there yet. That's going to be a progression. So I think step one is going to happen is we're going to see machine that have some sub-function that are autonomous. A little piece is autonomous, but the whole overall machine still need to be supervised by a human.
And programmed.
And initially programmed. I'll give an example. Today, if I want to assemble, let's say, a pin in a hole, it's going to be completely prescriptive. Take the pin from a tray where it's properly positioned, close the 2-finger gripper, move it by X centimeters, drop it in that hole. And that's very A to B to C, step-by-step prescriptive programming. We're all working towards creating function that have a higher level of abstraction. Here's a bin full of those pins, and they're unstructured. They're like all over one another. Look if there's pin in the bin, perhaps with a camera. If there's one pin, figure out how you're going to go grab it, because I only have 2 little fingers here. I cannot grab it like a human hands. I need to position myself in various ways, and moving robot is an unconstrained system. There's so many ways a robot can go grab that thing, but one is a bit faster than all the others. So compute the right way to go grab that pin, and then try to enter it in a hole until it fits. You can now start to program those higher level abstraction functions that are we call mission-based programming. It's no longer prescriptive. Have a camera, find a pin, compute all the various paths to go get that thing, and then move it down the little hole. That's the first step we're going to see. Nobody has cracked this beyond the university lab or the R&D lab. There's not a lot of real world example yet. I think within 6 to 18 months, we'll start to have a little sample of autonomous function, but then you need to get to the whole machine. If the bin of part did not arrive in time, the machine is stuck, right? You still need a human to supervise.
Yes.
So that's what I think people pushing the frontiers are trying to solve, is increasing the level of autonomy.
No, that's great. And I really appreciate the examples that you're giving. And the visual is nice. And for those who are listening, it's could really grasp what's happening, and even this higher level of programming. What's coming to mind when it comes to leaders and business leaders that are navigating through this change, through this revolution of AI? I'm curious, how do you lead your organizations, stakeholders, customers through these changes and keep them inspired?
Maybe my answer is going to be completely disarming, but AI is a tech tool.
Yes.
Just like the gazillion amount of technology we have in the toolbox. Bringing AI is no different than when we brought IoT, than when we brought big data, than when we brought, right? It's just organizations that have a good system to bring new products to market are good at bringing AI to market. Good product management structure, good technologist team that have the skill and discipline of bringing products to market. So those things don't turn into R&D land and more into commercialized products that brings value to the end user, into the business that provide them, to me, is key. But it's no different than all the way we've been designing products since the last 20 years.
But yeah, so from what you're saying is when you bring in these new tool sets throughout your organization, it's just all looked as just a new tool, and how do we integrate it in?
And I would say our client would think the same thing. Clients in the world of industrial automation robotics don't ask for AI. They ask for solution. If the solution use AI or not, they couldn't care less. They want the outcome. They want the payback. They want the ROI. AI is a tool to get there for us as platform providers to get to those solutions.
Etienne, I'm curious, as a business leader, CEO, what are the biggest challenges you're facing today?
Talent has been consistently a challenge, right? Finding right talent. And we're here in Canada. The talent pool is small, right? Have you ever read the Netflix book, Radical Candor, or it's a book about culture, something like that. And the main thesis is that there's an infinite talent supply of A players. So if you're not happy with, give them a lot of autonomy. If you're not happy with them, just let them go, right?
Yes.
But don't micromanage, give them just big mission. And if they're not happy, let them go. But that implies an infinite pool of talent. We don't have that in Montreal or in Canada, or right? The pool of talent is much smaller. And if you're dealing with hardware tech, like the concept of hiring remote is significantly diminished, because I cannot send robot to every house of my developers. They need to test it.
They need to be there.
So I think that makes the challenge more difficult. There's a great university. We're just not producing enough of that talent, I would say. So I think that's probably the toughest thing, is to find great technologists, great roboticists at scale. We were very lucky to we have a lot of them at Vention, but we would like to have more. So we often get those talent and we need to, and that's true not only for technologists, but that will true for product marketers. There's fairly no depth in the talent pool in Canada. That's also true for product managers. There's very little depth in Canada, especially if you're trying to navigate hardware, software, firmware, there's very little depth in Canada versus what you'll find in the United States.
Etienne, what is your vision of the future you are building?
So our Vention today is a two-sided platform. By the time we are IPO ready, it will be a three-sided platform. Vention is a platform in a very purist sense, and those business model, because they're not point solution, have the ability to go IPO because we have infinite way that we can grow the business. You can add a side to the platform, you can add a revenue stream, right? There's a lot of possibilities. Versus you're a computer vision company, you have this very narrow point solution. It's hard to get to an IPO state with those businesses. So we have a business model that can get us there. I think what's interesting is there's a lot of fund that have raised money to invest in publicly traded company in robotics and industrial automation, but there's no supply. You can buy Siemens, but Siemens is mixed with healthcare and gas turbine. You can buy ABB, but it's mixed with electrical breakers and battery. And so there's not a lot of pure play. I think we have a fantastic story to build the next industrial giant that is cloud and digital end-to-end that can appeal to a much broader audiences and be ready to time the market before labor shortage become less of an issue post 2030. So I think that's the journey we're in.
That's great. When it happens, Etienne, you're IPO already, everything is growing, you're able to plug it in. What does the world look like? What is happening within the industry or within the world and the people that are affected by it?
We like to say that you're going to walk on a manufacturing floor and you're going to see a beautiful blue machine. And those are Vention, a very peculiar brand, and everything is blue. And I think we're at a point where we can believe that industrial tech, again, a lot of tech deep problems that are very narrow. Vention is one of the few solutions that is very broad appeal because I'm serving today 25 manufacturing industries. It's a tool that everybody can use. You have the advantage and the inconvenience of platform. Platform can do everything and anything, right? But we have a very wide problems that we can solve market-wise. What you're going to see in future years, you're going to walk on manufacturing floors and you'll recognize the blue machine and the blue machine, and they're all different, but they all share the same core, the same family history, the old Vention machine that runs on the Vention stack, and they all do a little bit different thing, but it's the same tech that has been developed since 2016.
So then when that moment happens, what would they be saying about the big change that happened in manufacturing because Vention did that?
One of our clients says best, they say, let's Vention this. And you've achieved something when you're using as a verb, right? Let's Google this or let's Vention this. And let's Vention this for them is their way to quickly solve a manufacturing problems. They go online, they design the solution in days, they get it shipped the following day, and then they deploy and it's solved. It used to take months to do that, but when you start to bring all those design, automation stage, and programming in the same environment, you can do that in days. So let's Vention this is the success mark to achieve, perhaps.
So now that I just Google whatever I need to know in an instant, so if I'm like on the manufacturing floor, it's my facility, and I'm like, okay, I'm going to Vention this because I don't need to know everything in the world anymore. Right. I don't need to wait anymore.
And to some extent, you can do that today because if you go on the Vention website and you search for something, you'll find thousands and thousands of templates of machines that are already there and programmed to do various missions.
And so what do you think the mindset of these manufacturers will be? Because it's going to be very different because we don't have to wait.
It's very empowering for engineers to be able to solve problems. Have you ever heard the line, people don't want to buy drill bit, they want to buy the quarter-inch hole? If you're dealing with engineers, they actually want to buy the drill bit because their self-confidence is rooted in their ability to solve problems. And if you give a tool to an engineers where they can solve complex problems faster and they still get the buzz of solving their problems, you have a product that engineers have a deep emotional bond with, right? So we can provide that bond and that emotion.
That's amazing. We're super excited. We're rooting for you. We want to see that word Vention in our worlds all the time. But we do appreciate your time. Before we let you go, I'd love it if you could share any final thoughts, recommendations, advice to the CEOs, business leaders, founders who may be listening today. And it could be anything that comes to mind. It could be leadership. It could be entrepreneurship, whatever comes to mind.
For anybody who's starting a business, a lot of people tend to underestimate the amount of resilience and grit needed. It's definitely not for everybody. And the more complex is the business model, the more of that you're going to need. So just I would say think about it. It's not every brain. Some people train their whole life to be Olympic athlete. It's not everybody can be a founder. And you need to question yourself deeply around how many slap in the face can I take over how many years to give birth to something that is not meant to exist. Business are not meant to exist. You're fighting against gravity way too much. The only thing is your own energy, that your grit and resilience.
Etienne, I love that. That hits home for me as well, so I appreciate that. But thank you for joining us on the Business Leadership Podcast.
Thank you so much.
That's it, biz leaders. Thank you for joining me on another special episode of the Business Leadership Podcast, part of the Future Narrator mini-series recorded live at the Collision Conference. It was such an amazing conversation with Etienne, exploring how Vention is making industrial automation accessible and the broader trends shaping the industry. For links to the resources we discuss, to connect with Etienne, and to learn more about the Future Narrator project, please do go ahead and check the show notes in the app that you're listening to right now. And if you are interested in reading more about Etienne and other business leaders we profiled, please do join the waitlist for our upcoming book. And by the way, if you found any single value in this episode, please do subscribe, rate, and share it with the very first person who just came to mind who could benefit, and be grateful from hearing from you. Your support helps us grow, and it truly does empower us to create more great content. So thanks again. I really appreciate you for tuning in and really just being part of the community. Until next time, have a 100x day.